Hey guys, so at the end of February this year, almost exactly 1 year after the Russian invasion in Ukraine, I decided to visit the country and see it for myself. During the war, I've been highly invested in the situation there. I'm lucky enough to have contacts over there through the Ukrainian military and some civilians living there that the possibility of me going there was quite, easy logistically. At the end of the day, all I ended up bringing was a day pack that I carried on the flight with me. I also did bring a kind of a trauma medical kit just in case. The airport in Kyiv is closed to commercial travel. There's a few places you can get into Ukraine, a few countries you can cross into. I ended up choosing the most easy, and obvious route through Poland. So I flew to Warsaw, and I got a ride from Warsaw to Lviv first. The border crossing from Poland into Ukraine, it can be pretty tedious. Luckily, I was with the right people, and we got in and out within a couple hours. But typically, I think the lines can be upwards of 10 plus hours. There's a lot of commercial vehicles going in and out of the country. Since it is under a state of martial law, a lot of military age men going in and out of the country. It's especially Ukrainian men. It's very limited. They have to have very good reasons to be able to travel across borders. Going into this trip, I had expectations of maybe making a documentary film. Because I was with some military people that were trying to keep a low profile, it didn't really suit their interests for me to go around interviewing people. Quite frankly, I just didn't want to embarrass them and be embarrassed myself. So in the end, I took my camera and I ended up just filming what I saw from the eyes of a tourist. So that's what this film is, basically just scenes of my trip. I actually felt safe the entire time I was there. Granted, there are things that are not normal. In every large intersection, every main road getting in and out of any town, whether it's a small town or a big town, had a military presence. There was bunkers, there was trenches dug everywhere. The military presence was heavy. And it was actually really fascinating to see. There was trenches dug under city sidewalks. My first morning in Ukraine, in Lviv, we heard the missile sirens going off. And it happened a couple more times when we were there. And essentially it was Russia launching random missiles into Ukraine. And from what I understand, almost all of them get shot out of the sky. When the sirens went off that first time, I was kind of hesitant and looking around nervously, but the everyday people were just walking around as if nothing was happening. I did see the destruction from the Russian invaders firsthand in some of the outlying towns around Kyiv, including Bucha and Irpin, which was pretty unsettling to see. You get used to seeing images of war at a distance from TV, from the news, but seeing it firsthand, it's very eye-opening. And I hate to admit it, but it hits closer to home when the place that's destroyed looks exactly like your home. And what I mean by that is, about a decade ago, while I was living in the Central African Republic, I watched the Civil War take place there. I saw people killed. I saw horrific sights. But as a third world country in sub-Saharan Africa, that environment was already alien to me. And so seeing the violence was also alien. So it was almost like already incomprehensible in that setting, in those circumstances. But in Irpin and Bucha, those towns looked like upper-class American towns. And I know that's not supposed to make a difference in your sympathies or empathies, but it did feel, it felt more powerful, I guess, to me. Not far from the mass grave when the women and children were massacred by the Russian invaders in Bucha, there's actually like a really nice McDonald's. There are high-end apartments. There's movie theaters. There's shopping centers. It just was very bizarre to see, knowing that much violence and evil took place in a setting that basically looks like your backyard or your town you grew up in or the big city you grew up in. That was very, very hard to wrap my brain around. There's a fucking kindergarten. Even though I was only there for a short time, I had a lot of fun. I did some unexpected activities. At one point, the people I was with took me to like an underground punk rock or hardcore music show in this like rundown building in like this art center basically. Growing up as a teenager, I would go to those shows a lot in the U.S., and so it was nostalgic almost, and just super interesting hearing the Ukrainian language spoken in the music and the people in the crowd. It was like a very similar sight that I grew up seeing, but in different circumstances. We also ended up spending time driving around and looking at the artwork that the famous UK artist, graffiti artist Banksy had done in the country. And that was super interesting as well. By the time we got there, a lot of the artwork had been preserved. There had been protection put around it and people guarding it. And even though I would have liked to see it in its natural state without all that other stuff, it was good that they did that. They really made it kind of like a heritage destinations to go to. I also got a couple souvenirs. When we were walking around some of the destroyed towns, I found a trench that was dug by the Russian invaders on the side of the road next to basically a sidewalk. And as I walked through it carefully, because I didn't know what I was going to find in there, I ended up stumbling across this piece of Russian equipment. As far as I can tell in my research, it was attached, it's like a neck piece that this wire attaches to the body armor, and you can kind of pull this off, and the things, the pieces of the body armor come off as well. At least that's what I've determined in my research that I think it is. So given the circumstances in the location this was found, its previous owner, there's a good chance he is no longer alive. It was a interesting souvenir. I also ended up getting tattooed in Kyiv by an artist there, a well-known artist in the local tattoo scene. His name is Klink. His Instagram profile is listed in the description of the video. I chose this piece from his flash art because I really wanted some dark European tattoo art to kind of represent the trip that I took. I ended up visiting the Kyiv Independence Monument in the center of the city. The monument was to commemorate protesters who were violently killed during protests in 2014 under the previous Russian-influenced government there. And in front of the monument was kind of a new makeshift monument thrown up in the lawn facing the main road there of fallen soldiers of the war with Russia. So, do I recommend tourists visit Ukraine right now? I would have to say no, only because with the war going on, the situation is highly unpredictable. I departed on the 22nd of February, and there was a lot of talk and kind of concern about the 24th of February, which marked the 1-year anniversary of the invasion. And so people were encouraging me to get out of the country for fear that there would be renewed strikes or an influx of new Russian deployments. And that ended up not happening, at least in any of the major cities, luckily. But yeah, I mean, with how unstable Russian leadership is, I don't encourage people going there. My trip was also made easy, much more easier than it would have been if I went alone, because like I said, I had contacts in the military, and so they helped me logistically get in and out of the country very easily. It is possible for a solo or independent traveler to cross into Ukraine relatively easily from the train that runs from Warsaw into Kyiv. And I don't think the border crossing there is as tedious as if you were in a personal vehicle. So that is an option. The food is very good. Like I said, while I was there, I didn't feel like I was in any danger. So even though I don't encourage tourism to Ukraine right this moment while the war is still going on, I highly encourage people to go when this war, hopefully soon, is finished. It's a beautiful country, beautiful people, and the food is just incredible. And it's about 1/4 the price that you would find similar quality food in the US. I cannot recommend the food enough. What is this called?
Kappa Orange.
Kappa Orange, and it's orange juice with a
espresso.
shot of espresso. Very interesting. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video.